Welcome back to Shane's DIY for the much anticipated episode 2 of the 3-part series on how to set up your Spektrum AR631 and 637 receiver to the Radiomaster TX16S. I apologize for the delay. I wanted to get this released a lot sooner, but life gets in the way. In episode 1, we made sure that the Radiomaster TX16S software was up to date. We put the latest Fwd Programming 0.53 Lua scripts on the radio. Made sure all the folders were in place that were required. Quite a few of you found that episode very helpful. A lot of nice comments, and I really appreciate that. That makes it all worthwhile when you help somebody out. If you haven't seen that episode, I encourage you to go look at that before you watch this episode, just so your radio's all set up and ready to go, and you don't fall behind, because some of this may not make a lot of sense if you haven't seen episode 1. From the commenters and from talking to the developer, one thing we did learn from after episode 1 was that the Radiomaster Zorro won't currently run the version 0.534 Programming Lua. Apparently it's due to a lack of memory, and then I've also heard that there might be some issues with the Radiomaster Boxer running it, that the developer tells me he is working on a solution to try to get those other radios to run this Fwd Programming scripts. So if you're not aware, Spektrum locks these bind and fly receivers down at various levels depending on what firmware you have, so you can't make any significant changes, or maybe any changes through Fwd Programming to these lockdown receivers. Even if you've got the Spektrum transmitter, you can't do anything. You can't even log into it. I'm going to demonstrate that in a moment. But for most people, this isn't really a big deal. The Spektrum's done a good job with these receivers to set up the default AS3X and safe modes, like with these Aero Scouts that I'm going to be working on. I've got 2 of them. One of them's already unlocked. If you've watched any of my other videos, you've seen that. I've got flaperons on it and everything. And I've got another just bone stock Aero Scout that we're going to be doing these tests on to unlock it. So I can show you how to do that. But they've done a good job with the default AS3X and safe settings. So if you just want to put a battery in your plane, go fly, get it set up so you can turn the safe on and off, you're great. You're going to fly fine. There's no need to do any of this stuff that we're doing here. But if you're like me and you don't like being limited on how you can customize or set up your airplane, fine-tune things, today I'm going to show you how to unlock your receiver so you can do whatever you want. Another reason you might want to be able to reprogram your receiver and unlock it is if you've purchased this receiver from somebody else, used, and you need to unlock it to put it on an airplane, or the airplane you got it on was crashed. That happens all the time. It's inevitable. It's not if, it's when you crash your airplane. So it would be a shame to waste the these parts if you can't reprogram them. So this allows you to unlock these receivers so you can put it in another airplane. Now, before you modify your receiver, I got to give you my disclaimer and tell you that you do this at your own risk. If you perform a factory reset on your receiver, once we unlock it, it's going to erase everything. So you're going to have to set up safe mode, AS3X, and everything from scratch if you want it enabled or re-enabled. So any incorrect settings are going to cause your airplane to react the way you would not expect it or want it to. So you could crash. So don't blame me, don't blame Radiomaster, don't blame Spektrum if you make a mistake and you crash your airplane. I have done this process before on my other Aero Scout, and I know it works correctly if done properly. So it does work. If you don't do something correctly, you got to make sure that you're checking all the control surfaces, that they're moving the right directions. We'll go over that in episode 3 when we actually reprogram this receiver to from scratch. We're going to basically change it. I'm going to make it like my other one where I've got flaperons, changing channels around, redoing all the AS3X and safe stuff. So we're going to go through all that. But just know that you're taking your own risk if you do this, but no reason you can't do this and get it done correctly. So with the legalities out of the way, first thing I want to do is connect to a couple of different AR631s in my 2 Aero Scouts. First one's going to be a bone stock locked Aero Scout. Currently has firmware 2.38.4 on it, and you're going to see that either from the TX16S or Spektrum NX6. Neither one of them will enter the forward programming mode and give you any control or ability to change things. So you'll see that it's totally locked down. It's not an EdgeTX or a Radiomaster thing. It is locked down from Spektrum, even with their own transmitter. Then we'll log into my unlocked one, and you can see we can navigate around all the menus. We can change anything we want. We can make any adjustments to the gains, the safe modes, the channels, anything that you want to do. I'm not going to connect to it today because you'll get the idea after doing the other two, but I've got a Timber X with an AR631 as well. That one has firmware 2.38.0, so slightly different firmware. You can actually get into some of the menus on that one, but you can't really edit anything or change it. In stock configuration, you can set the channels on the Timber X to the safe and AS3X select channels by assigning a switch to the correct channels, and then you move the sticks down and in, and you flip the switch 5 times. There's a whole process for that. It's in the manual for the Timber X, but the ability to do that depends on the firmware you've got. They don't even have the ability to do that with the AeroScout default firmware. The channels are fixed from the factory. You can't change those. Those are used channels 5 and 6 for the AS3X and safe modes, and also for the panic mode. So those are locked down. You can't change those, at least not until we unlock it. But the Timber X does let you change those things, so that's nice that you can at least assign the channels to it. So first, let's bind up the NX6 to the stock AeroScout. We'll show you that the forward programming menus are not available. All right, we'll get this bound up to the NX6. Okay, so our NX6, see, this is an NX6 Spektrum. We're bound to the AeroScout. This is a stock one. Now let's navigate to the forward programming menu. So we got a menu that just says gyro settings. Click that. It says we're AS631. Connection failed. Click for menu. So you can't even connect into it. So that's really as far as we can get on this stock one. So they don't even let us do anything with that. So now let's bind the TX16S to the same airplane, and then we'll take a look at what that one shows us. We'll go in, we'll get ready to do the bind, internal RF. Okay. We're on bind, getting ready. Put in the bind plug. Now we're up. Okay, now we're ready to bind. The bind button. Hold it away a little bit. Okay, now we're bound. And that process of me pulling it away a little bit from the airplane, sometimes if you're too close, it won't bind. So you got to step away from the plane, a few feet. All right, so now we're connected. Okay, now we've got the Radiomaster TX16S bound to the airplane. Now let's do the same thing. We'll go into the system. Now we've got our DSM Fwd Programming. We'll click that. Just touch the screen. Now this one says RX Simulator on it. I've got Simulator activated. I think I can still try to go into the Fwd Programming. Let me try. So it says gyro settings. We'll click that. It just kicks you out of the program. It doesn't even attempt to do it. Let me do it once more. I'm going to deactivate that forward programming simulator mode to make sure that's not interfering with it. So Give me a second to do that. I've got to plug it into the computer to do that. All right. You may not want to mess with some of this stuff, but as long as we're doing it, I'll go ahead and show you the simulation mode if you do want to experiment on your own airplane. So we're going to get to the USB drive, which is the radio. So let's pull this up. So these are the files directly on my TX16S. So use caution if you're changing these. Usually I'll back these up onto the computer, make my changes. So I've got a good backup. But I've done this before, so I'm not too concerned. So you go into your scripts, go to Tools, and then find the Fwd Programming you're doing. I'm using this one. So I'm going to pull that up. I'll right-click on it. I'm going to edit it with, I use Notepad++. So I'll pull that up. And over here, one of the very first lines, the simulation on, it says true. If I just change that to false, you got to use it in lowercase. Change that to false. I'm going to save that. Now that's saved right to the radio. So let's get out of that, close that. And now we'll pull the radio back up, unplug it from the USB. Okay, so now I've made that change. Okay, I can see on the airplane, I am still bound to it. Now let's go into Fwd Programming, just to make sure that that simulation mode didn't affect it. You see that banner's gone now. So we'll check that. No compatible remotes. It'll say gyro probably, but as soon as I click on that, it's probably going to kick us out again. You see that it does recognize the firmware and the receiver. So yeah, it entered, but now it's probably just going to kick us out. Yeah, so you can see that it doesn't. Yeah, you can't get anywhere with the lockdown receivers. So in order to get any kind of adjustability out of them, change any settings, we got to unlock it. It's just not really an option. If you're happy with, again, if you're happy with the settings, you can fly the plane. I've flown these planes a lot with the stock settings. They're fine. I just don't like being restricted. All right, I'm going to change this to my other airplane now. I'll put it on the unlocked Aero Scout. I'm just calling it my Aero Scout Plus to differentiate. Select that model. Okay, so now I'm on the other airplane. Let's go get that one bound up. We'll go to Model, Internal RF, scroll down to Bind. Okay, we'll get it on that. Get our bind plug inserted, the battery in. Okay, pull the bind plug out. Now we'll go hit the bind button. Okay. You can see we're bound up. Keep my throttle lock on. All right, we'll back out of the model setup. Now we'll go into System, Fwd Programming. Sometimes you got to click it a couple times. All right, so you can see now the menu does look different. And you can also see here we've got the AR631, but now we're on 2.38.5, which is the latest firmware. So now if we go into, say, other settings, you can see now we have all kinds of options. We can save to backup, which we'll talk about a little later, but oops. We'll talk about that a little later, but the save to backup, that will basically take whatever's on the receiver right now, it'll save that in its internal memory. And then regardless of what you change, so you're going to want to do this before you make your changes. And if you screw it all up, you can just go to here to restore from backup, and it'll retrieve that that backup right off the receiver back to an active program. Here's where you'll also do your factory reset if you want to. You can put it in bind mode, do all that, set up your failsafe. So let's go back out of that. Now we'll go into the gyro settings. Here's where you can set up. Now, if you do a factory reset and you come in and you do it, it's going to make you do a first time start. You have to start from scratch, and you've got to set up everything, model settings and all that. But now that I've just got this unlocked, I can get in here. I can change my gains, priority heading, fixed gains. So you can see, we've got full control right from our Radiomaster, so it's excellent. Don't need to spend too much time in here. We'll get into this when we reprogram the new one. This episode is mostly just to show you how to get it unlocked, but you can see here that angle limits. This is where you can establish how far left and right or up and down that you can limit while you're in the different modes. If I change my switch, so here's my mode switch for safe and AS3X. If I switch that, you can see now it goes to mode 2. It goes to mode 3, which is my AS3X only. So you can see the safe modes are gone because I don't have any safe on in AS3X only. My medium rate, I still have angle limits, but not full. Let's back out of that. Out of that. So your flight modes, those are available now. You can adjust those. So flight mode 1, I got AS3X is active. I've got self-leveling, angle. I can't remember what the DEM means, but basically it's self-leveling and it's got angle limits. And if I go to my flight mode 2, is envelope, where it will not automatically level, but it won't let you turn more than a certain angle. And that was set up in that other thing. Now if I go to flight mode 3, you can see I've just got AS3X only in here. And I don't have any throttle to elevator mix on flight mode 2. Then you go to flight mode 1, which is my safe mode. I've got, basically when you accelerate, put the throttle up or down, it automatically increases or decreases the elevator to help you land and stuff. And that's the way it's set up from standard. I didn't bother with any kind of panic. You can set that up to a momentary button if you want. I don't have it turned on now that I've reprogrammed this model, but we'll probably see once we unlock the other one that'll be active. So we'll spend a lot more time in here, but relearn, orientation gains, everything is completely unlocked, as you can see, obviously. So we'll get back out of here and get back to the point of the video. Out of that. Okay, so you can see you do have full capabilities. Now let's get started showing you how to unlock this locked up receiver. So with the SPMA 3065 USB adapter, so you can see that there hopefully, you plug this into the bind port. On the AeroScout, they give you this little extension lead coming out. If you don't have that, you can just go right to the receiver, of course. I'm going to plug that into the bind port. I have a hard time filming this because it's kind of awkward and it's not quite long enough to reach my computer easily the way I have it set up. So, all right, let's get started on the firmware update. So we need some software. Obviously, we need the SPMA 3065 adapter. The USB adapter is not really optional. I have seen some people make their own. Maybe we'll entertain that in the future where you can make your own adapter, but you can find them for 20, 30 bucks. I don't know if it's worth the trouble to try to make your own, but I've heard it is possible. I haven't tried it myself. So we're going to need a couple things. You've got to register to the product with Spektrum. So in order for it to be recognized on the software and to allow you to download the firmware updates, you got to have it registered with Spektrum. So first thing you would do is go to SpektrumRC.com. Once you're on the website, you mouse over support here, and then you're going to go to My Spektrum. That's going to take you to this page. It'll get you to this page. You do have to have an account with this one. So log in with your username and password. If you don't have one already, create one. Once you log into that, now it'll show you what products you've already registered. So what you're going to need to do is register a new product. To register your product, you're going to need the serial number. So the first thing you got to do is get to the Spektrum Programmer software. I'll put a link to the software down below, but that takes you to this page. Now when you get down, the latest is version 3.6. You're going to download that. I've already done that, so we're going to pull up that software now. First I'm going to do is connect. So cable connected, but no device. So it knows I'm connected. I think I need to power it. Sure your computer's not damaged. Be sure there's no battery plugged in. So make sure you do not have a battery in your airplane when you do this, because the computer is going to power the receiver when you check that checkbox. So I'm going to make a new model. Okay, so I want to use the device settings because the computer settings are going to have my other model. So device settings, it's downloading it from the device. I've got a new model. I'm going to edit that. I'm going to call this one my Aero Scout S2 number 2. So I can pick an image. I've got another Aero Scout. We'll just use that. Save. Okay. So you can't really do much. It's a little misleading. You go to to that web page. It shows you can adjust rates and stuff. There's only certain receivers that you can make these changes on. With the AR631, all you can do is update firmware. You can do very little. You can export the thing so you can restore it later, duplicate it, reset it. All right, so now that I've added it, I can come over here to the left here. I can click Software Update. So there's my serial number. I'm going to need that to register it. You need to log into your Spektrum RC account and register this device to check for an update. So let's use my serial number here. Let's copy that. Now we're going to go back to my Spektrum. We're going to click Register New Product. So up above here is my personal information. But so now I've got to enter my information for my product that I'm going to add. So there's my AR631 serial number here. Let's paste that in. This is an AR631. Just plug in all this information. I don't know if this is required or not, but that I bought it. Where was it purchased? HorizonHobby.com. So there's all that. Plug in your I am not a robot information. See if that works. I'm going to register it. Okay, so now I'm going to update my nickname on this because the other one is Aero Scout S2 number 1. I'm going to make this one Aero Scout S2 number 2. Okay, so now that it's registered, now I should be able to go back to the software and it should let me check for an update. So now here's the caveat. So it says there's not a new version available, but go ahead and do it anyway. Install another version and it's going to give you a couple. So this top one here is newer. That's the unlocked version. The one that's on it now is 2.38.4, which is the bind and fly locked version. So I'm going to go ahead and get the 2.38.5. Let's update that. Updating the device, it's downloading. So just remember, just because it says there's no update, just don't believe them. There is. Device was updated successfully. Okay. Now if we go back to our models, at this point the receiver should be up to date. So if we reconnect with Fwd Programming, we should be able to see all the settings. So let's try that. So while we're in here, I'd already unplugged the receiver. I can't remember if it's already in here or not, but let's see if this will work without being plugged into it. You can export the settings file for that AeroScout. You can see I've already got my other one in there. So I'm going to save that file. Okay, so now I can recover that. If I'd ever lost it, I can import that back into there and open that file back up, I believe. Yeah, if I hit import, I can bring that file back in up here at the top. All right, now I need to switch back to the other AeroScout. This is my regular AeroScout. Select that model. Now it should already be bound when I plug it in. So let's go do that. Okay, so I am still bound. Now let's go in. All we've done is updated the firmware. We've done nothing else yet. So let's go into System. Okay, so now let's see what we can do with Fwd Programming now that we've updated the firmware. Now, if you are going to start this from scratch, you're going to go to Model Setup, and then you're going to tell it what kind of, come on, there we go. So in here, you're going to tell it what kind of the aircraft type you've got, the wing and tail channels, gyro channel, reverse. We're not going to reverse any channels, but so it should still work as is right now. We haven't made any changes yet. So that's just for the setup, but so go into the menu. First thing you want to do is very important. Come in here, go to your other settings. So before you make any changes to anything else, now there are still some limitations. We haven't done a factory reset, so it's still got some of the same factory stuff in there that won't change. But I'm going to go down here and I'm going to do Save to Backup. I'm going to click Apply. Okay, so what that's done is it's taken that factory bone stock setup and it's written it to saved it to a memory file in the receiver. So if we need to restore that, we can do that. If we get in here and we are not happy with our changes, that we've goofed something up, you can come back in here and do Restore from Backup and it'll turn it back to the way it was. So now let's see, we'll have some new options in here. Not everything, because we haven't done a factory reset yet, but
medium rate, high rate, medium rate, safe mode.
yeah, so you still can't change everything, but things are unlocked now. Once you decide that you're ready, you can do the factory reset. That's just the AS3X. So you can change the AS3X, you just can't change the safe modes until we do the factory reset. So you still can't get in there and change safe settings and stuff until you do the factory reset, but we now have the option to do it. We didn't even have the option to do that before, so now we've got it unlocked. We can, when we're ready to, I mean, if you're happy with the settings now, that's fine. You don't need to mess with it, but now we can get in there and factory reset it. We can start from scratch, do whatever it is we want. All right, so I hope that was helpful. We'll walk you through the firmware update process, get the software that you needed to do that, get your product registered, get the Spektrum software. Anyway, this will get you going. Next episode, we are going to do the factory reset, wipe out everything on there, start from scratch and go through each thing, create the model setup, and go through the whole process. This will be the real test. I have not done this test yet on the TX16S. When I did my first one, the initial setup, because we still had version 0.2 for Fwd Programming, and I couldn't get in there and do the initial setup. It wouldn't work. So I had to use the NX6 to do that. So this will be a learning experience for both of us, or for all of us, to do the whole process with the Radiomaster TX16S with the EdgeTX. So thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please leave it in the comments below. If you have any other tips for everybody, new information that might help the others out, including myself, I'm learning this too as I go. I just wanted to share with you as I learn what I've been able to get to work. Yeah, please like, subscribe, comment below. That helps to keep the activity going and help share it with others that are looking for the same information. I really appreciate it. And see you again on the next episode, episode 3. We'll try to not wait so long to get that one done. Thanks for stopping by Shane's DIY. Take care.